Hello ladies and gentlemen, in today's video I will teach you how to knit basic brioche two ways. So if you want to knit brioche pattern, you can do it two ways, okay? You can do it either with over here with yarn over, okay? Or you could do it with knitting below the stitch. And you can see that pattern over here, this is our knit stitch kind of, and this is supposed to be our purled stitch, and you see it had that special flared out pattern in between, right, between those two knit stitches. And look at this, the same thing over here. You can see it, that it has that flared out threads between two knit stitches, and the same thing over here. Okay, now when I was trying to do it with yarn over, it was much harder for me to do it so it would be symmetrical. Let me explain the symmetrical way. As you see over here, I have that purled, flared out purled stitch, and then over here I have knit stitch, right? Over here I have knit stitch, but the flared out stitch over here is only halfway, okay? Only one line from the purled stitch. Over here I have two lines going from the purled stitch, okay? But on this one, where I was using a technique that you knit below the stitch, I have, it is perfectly symmetrical. You see over here is my stitch, knit stitch, and only halfway flared out purled stitch over here, and the same way over here. This is my knit stitch and halfway flared out stitch over here. I actually, for symmetry, I like to work with stitches where you knit below the stitch, okay? But let me go and show you how to start. So first, what you need to do is you need to cast on your stitches and knit one entire row. So I finished my entire row with knit stitches, okay? And also, if you want to have the symmetrical way, you need to have odd number of stitches. Okay, here I have odd number of stitches, okay, and over here I have even number of stitches. Okay, so let me first show you how to do it with knitting below the stitch. I also would like to mention that when you are knitting below, you can have two edge stitches, and you can either knit them, or as in my case, you can always slip the last stitch. I always slip the last stitch but knitted the first stitch over here, okay? But I will show it to you both ways. So first I will show you how I am slipping my last stitches, okay, and knitting first stitch. So this stitch I will knit regular way, I mean through the back loop, and this one I will slip, but in between I will be doing my brioche stitch. Okay, so we will knit our first stitch, okay, and now we will make our brioche by knitting below this stitch. So you basically have to go and knit not over here, okay, but below it, right there, into the middle, Okay, you will knit the stitch and you pull the stitch down, and you see it becomes actually a yarn over stitch. Okay, then you will knit this stitch. Okay, now you will do the same thing. You will alternate these two stitches. You will again knit below the stitch, below it, okay, below this, in the middle right there, which will turn into yarn over, and over here you will knit the regular way above that bump. And again, below the bump, you will go into the below the bump. Okay, and you will go and knit regular way above the bump and below the bump and above the bump. Okay, let me show it to you in English style. So we went above the bump, so now we need to go below the bump. We will knit the stitch below the bump and we will take both down. Now we will knit above the bump and again below this bump. Okay, and pull down. Now we will go and knit regular way and again below the bump, take it down and regular way, take it down, and the last one is going to be again below the bump. Okay, our brioche knit. And I usually slip my stitch. Okay, so I'll show it to you slipped, my last stitch, and then my first stitch will be knitted, and I will show it to you again in Continental style now. First stitch will be knitted through the back loop. Okay, and now you will notice, I want you to be aware of one thing. You will have bumps everywhere in here in the second row, okay? But over here you will have two bumps because we knitted below. Oops, we knitted below, so you will have two bumps. This is one bump, this is the other bump that we knitted below, okay? Okay, so now I am back in on my second row. Okay, so these two bumps will be knitted in a regular way above those two bumps. Now this one has only one bump, okay? And because it has only one bump, we will go and knit again below the bump. And it will have two bumps. So it will have two bumps on the other side, okay? Now this one has two bumps. It has that yarn over and a bump. So because it has two strands over here, you need to knit above it, okay? Now we have only one strand in here. We will knit above it, above. And right now in here we have again two strands, that yarn over and the regular bump. So since we have two strands, we need to knit above it. And one strand, we will go and knit below it, below, okay? And again, one strand, two strand, so above it, okay? Let me show it to you again in English style. Okay, so we have one strand, we knit below it, 2 strands in here. Okay, let me show it to you. 2 strands right here, 1 and 2. So we need to knit above it and below, and you alternate, okay, and above and below, and these are just knit stitches. Okay, you don't have to do any purl stitch. Below and above 2 bumps and slip stitch. Okay, let me continue with the 3rd row again in English style. Okay, so we will knit through the back loop. Okay, and we have only 1 bump in here. You see it looks kind of thicker right here, over here. So we know that we have 2 bumps there. Okay, so 1 bump, knit below the bump, thicker 2 strands, knit above, knit a regular way. Okay, and alternate below, above, below, above. Okay, I hope you get this, how it works. Okay, I think I'm trying to explain it to you in a very detailed way, so you understand how this brioche technique works. Okay, you know, when you're knitting basically below the bump, okay, and above. Good. Now I will show you in a continental style. I will continue with this one, and you soon you will see how it's forming. Okay, but I will knit now in continental style, and we will knit all the stitches. We will also knit the end stitches. Okay, so since I did my last stitch over here that I slipped it, I will knit it through the back loop. And now I have to go and look. I need to start knitting. Let me see, what did we do in here? We have two yarns, so we need to knit in a regular way. Okay, so we will knit regular, and now we will knit below in a regular way, and we will go and knit below. Okay, regular way and below, regular way, below, regular way, below. Okay, and I will do several rows so I can show you how the end is going to look like when you knit all the stitches. So I did not slip my last stitch, I knitted it. See, over here I have edge like a chain stitch. Okay, but now we will be doing that little bump here at the end. So since we knitted last stitch, we need to knit the first stitch regular way. Okay, and now over here again, when we look, we have thick one with 2 bumps over here, 1 and 2, and 1 bump here. When we have 1 bump, we go below. When we have 2 bumps, we go above those 2 bumps. Okay, so we will just go and do what we need to do. Below and above, below above. Okay, so let me do a few rows so I can show you how the edge with every single stitch on the end is going to look like. Oops, knit this stitch, knit this last stitch. See, I'm used to slipping my last stitches. Okay, so I knitted several rows and you can see how it is basically developing, right? You can see that we do have a brioche pattern over here, okay? And over here you can see the edge where I knitted every single stitch on the end and in the, you know, at the beginning as well. So you can see those little bumps like you usually get when you're knitting all the stitches. And over here you can see my chain like edge when I don't knit last stitch, when I just slip it, and when I knit my first stitch through the back loop. Okay, so that is just to show you how it would look like when you go and knit all the stitches here, and how you go and knit the brioche pattern with knitting below the stitch. I just wanted to mention, even though that we do not knit any purl stitches, it does have the look of knit and purl. So what we will do right now is work with even number of stitches. Okay, so you can see how it's done with yarn over. Okay, so you usually have to start with yarn over first. So we will go and do yarn over this needle, and then we will slip this one stitch. Okay, now hold that yarn over with the stitch together. Okay, hold it, and then knit the next stitch. Okay, now you will do yarn over again, you will hold it, and you will slip the stitch, hold them together, and knit the next stitch. Now obviously you are slipping the stitch purlwise, okay? So yarn over, slip purlwise, and hold it, and knit next stitch. And you repeat these two stitches, yarn over, knit, yarn over and slip, and then knit, yarn over, slip, and then knit, yarn over, slip, and you knit the stitch, yarn over, slip, they belong together, okay, and then knit the stitch, yarn over, slip, and knit, yarn over, slip, and knit the last stitch. Okay, now when we turn around we will repeat exactly the same thing. Okay, we will do yarn over and slip the first stitch. Okay, so you see you have that yarn over there and slip stitch, but now we need to knit these two stitches together, because this was the yarn over and slipped stitch. Okay, so what we will do is we will knit these two together. Okay, now we have this one stitch that is all alone, so we will do yarn over again, we will slip it purlwise. Okay, and now comes the pair, and we will knit that pair in a regular way. Now we have our lonely stitch, so we will pair it with yarn over, okay, and the slipped stitch purlwise. You see, now they're together, and now we will go and knit these two, They are paired, so we will knit them together. And we have our lonely stitch again, so we will pair it with yarn over. You can do it like this. See, I put the yarn forward and I slip it together. Okay, now again we will go and knit these two paired stitches together and yarn over and slip, and now they're together, and now these two will be knitted together. And this one is lonely, so we will go and give that little guy another yarn over, so we will pair it, and now we will turn this paired one into one. Okay, and this is our last paired stitch. We will pair it, and this one is going to be these two guys, yarn over, and stitch is going to be knitted. Okay, now let me show it to you in English style. Okay, it's gonna be kind of clumsy probably, but hopefully I will do it right way. Okay, so I did yarn over and we will slip these two together. Okay, let me do it one more time like this. Okay, so we have that yarn over, and now we will knit paired stitch together. Okay, now we need to do yarn over and slip the stitch, okay, purlwise. And now we have two again together, so we will go and knit them in a regular way. And we will do yarn over, and we will slip this stitch. And the paired is going to get knitted together. Okay, so you see, every single time you pair one and then you turn that paired into one. You pair this one again, you turned from the previous row into single lonely guy. Okay, now this one is lonely, single lonely guy. We will go and pair it with yarn over, and from previous row, and this one is from previous row paired, so we will turn it into a single lonely guy. Okay, and again we will do yarn over and slip and knit these two together. Yarn over, slip, and knit these two together. Yarn over and slip and knit our last two, which were very first ones from the previous row. Okay, we will knit them together and it became a lonely guy. And again, now we need to go and do the yarn over, so let me go and slip these two together, or maybe let me see, yarn over and slip it. Okay, now we will go and knit these two together. Okay, just make sure that we do have that yarn over there with the first one. Okay, good. Now yarn over and slip and knit two guys together. Okay, so you can see how this is done with yarn over. And when I would do more rows, it would look like this. You see? Let me show you. Let me go and knit in my Continental style. So we need to do yarn over here, yarn over and hold it together, and then we knit two guys together, and now we need to do yarn over and slip and knit these two together. Yarn over and slip and two guys together, yarn over and slip and two guys together, yarn over, slip keep it in there and knit them together. And again, yarn over, slip, and knit these two together. Okay, so that's how this is done, this yarn over. So whichever technique works for you better, use that technique. Okay, either yarn over or by knitting below. I started this video a while ago and I never finished it, and I would like to finish it today. And in this example, I want to talk about yarn over an odd number of stitches, brioche with yarn over an odd number of stitches. Okay, so just like I did in the second example where I was doing the yarn over, we will start the same way over here. Okay, so we will do yarn over and we will slip it purlwise over here. So yarn over and slip. Okay, so we have that yarn over and slip stitch, and then we will knit the stitch and yarn over and slip, knit the stitch, and again yarn over and knit the stitch, yarn over, knit, yarn over and slip, knit. And you know, if you have even number of stitches, then you finish with knitted stitch, but we will finish with yarn over and slipped stitch. Okay, so basically you have yarn over on at the beginning and yarn over at the end. Now I will knit these two paired stitches, okay, or the yarn over and a stitch. Okay, so it's a pair. So you have to be careful so you don't, it doesn't slip off if you're doing it that way, because then you would just need to knit this stitch and then do the yarn over here. Okay, so we will knit this paired stitch and we will do yarn over single stitch without the yarn over, and we will knit this pair again. Okay, we will knit it and we will pair this one with yarn over and we will slip it purlwise and knit it and slip it with yarn over and knit it and slip it, knit it, slip it, and we will knit the pair over here. Okay, and we will do the same thing. So this row, actually one row is that you start with single stitch and then you pair the stitch and you end up with a single stitch. Okay, so the second row. So the next row, again, the third row, we will start with yarn over and we will finish with yarn over. Okay, so yarn over and slip and knit these two together. Okay, hold on one second. There we go. And yarn over, slip, and knit these two together. Yarn over and slip and knit two together. All right, so let me go and do this quick because you already kind of know. And again, we are here with yarn over at the end. Now again, remember this is yarn over, so you should knit the pair together and then do the yarn over with the second stitch. Okay, and knit. Okay, let me go and do few rows and then I will go and talk to you a little bit more about what's happening. Okay, so I did more rows so you could go and see what's happening, because I wanted to talk to you about selvage over here, the sides. Okay, You see, because we're on this side, it's usually nice and firm when we are, you know, starting with, finishing up with knitting these two together. But in the beginning over here, when we're knitting these two together, because we start and finish with them, right, it creates a very loose end, and that's why I do not like yarn over and odd number of stitches, because look what is happening with the stitch. So you basically go and knit it, and then it becomes really long in here. Okay, you know, I don't like it. Which with the other example, which I don't really have it anymore, but I'll pull up the I'll do a screenshot so you can see. It's even, nicely even on both sides, but this one is not. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Watch for more videos about brioche. Okay, I will be showing you 2-color brioche later on, whenever I get to videotaping increases, decreases, and you know, hopefully you are able to learn from my video and future videos as well. If you do, please share them, and if you already subscribed, I thank you very much. And that's about it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you another time.